it's really, really hard to have the perspective to coach yourself. And so just getting some outside perspective helps people in giving them permission to challenge you and coach you, and being coachable makes a huge difference in being able to say, okay, yeah, you know what, you're right. That's just me, playing small ball instead of playing big ball.
What does mojo mean to you?
Welcome to CEO Mojo, where we inspire business leaders to get motivated. In our weekly podcast, we talk about the ideas, stories, and lessons of these successful entrepreneurs and how they overcome the challenges that hold them back from getting in touch with their mojo so that you will get motivated. Our host is Joe Apfelbaum, CEO and co-founder of Ajax Union, a digital marketing agency based in Brooklyn. Joe is a certified Google trainer and was featured on Fox Business News, Bloomberg, and The Wall Street Journal. He's a published author, and his thought leadership appears regularly on Forbes, Business Insider, and Entrepreneur.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Apfelbaum.
Hello and welcome to another episode of CEO Mojo. Today I'd like to introduce my friend and fellow CEO, Aaron Lee. Aaron is the CEO of Illuminati Studios, a digital marketing agency in South Florida. Aaron Lee has over 25 years of marketing, creative, and web technology experience, producing a wide range of successful marketing programs and projects for some of the world's top brands. He is currently the president of Entrepreneurs Organizations in South Florida, and I'm really excited to hear from Aaron's experience and wisdom. He's really amazing. He's an awesome entrepreneur. Let's get this started. Welcome to another amazing episode of CEO Mojo. Thank you so much for being part of this, Aaron. I really appreciate it.
No, I'm really excited. Thank you for the opportunity and looking forward to it.
So as you know, we speak to entrepreneurs about the beliefs, the failures, the work ethic, the focus, fears, relationships, and purpose that entrepreneurs need to have in order to create amazing results in their life and in their business. And you grew a company significantly. And I'd like to ask you a question, start off with, what are some of the beliefs that you used to have that you had to overcome in order for you to be able to break the six-figure, seven-figure mark in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for me, I ran the business for many years, and it had this ceiling on it, the $1 million ceiling that I could not break. And it occurred to me at some point that I had a relationship to my business that was very personal and emotional. And I would call it, going from I to it. And when I started the business, it was just me. And, then I added an employee a few years in. Then, slowly kept adding a couple employees. But it was still through the lens. I looked at the business through the lens of me as an individual. And everything, the capacity for how big it could grow was limited by my own personal idea of how big I could be. And at some point, I was able to let go. And letting go really meant giving away accountability, not just tasks. So other people had to own parts of the business that I wasn't going to think about on a day-to-day basis. And as soon as that happened, the business grew. And we really doubled in the course of 2-3 years. And every step where I find myself continuing to get back entrenched where I'm holding on to things is when I've realized that we've stopped growing, right? So I just keep trying to give things away more and more. And I find that what I've also identified is I'm really only good at certain jobs. I take that back. I'm only great at certain jobs. I'm good at a lot of jobs. And that's the problem, is that you think that being good at a lot of jobs is enough, when really you should just do those things that you're great at. And so the more I've given away the things that I'm only good at, other people are much better at them than me. And, the less I'm in the office, it seems to run better. So.
That is awesome. That is really, really awesome. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this can resonate with that feeling. There are certain things that you're just better at than other people, some things that you're great at. So focusing on that is really important. Do you have a major failure that you had in your life and in your business that made you want to kind of stop doing what you're doing? We all go through failures. In order to get to success, we know that you have to have failures, but sometimes entrepreneurs get stuck in their failures and they can't move forward. Do you have a particular story that you want to share about a failure that you had that really got you a little stuck and what you did to overcome it?
I think the time, and I've had a couple of like down periods in the business and where I really began to question, why am I doing this? I think the one that was the most poignant was, during just leading up to the Great Recession in that 2009, 2008 timeframe. And the failure really was not building a business that was resilient. We were building a business for survival. And so when, the external threats, were applied, that we really couldn't do much about those threats, but the business itself wasn't designed to sustain those kinds of threats to the business. And so, I had a real existential moment. I remember sitting across my desk from, my first employee who had been with me all this time and having this conversation where they're like, why am I doing this? Why, I could just go get a job and I wouldn't have all of this pressure and hassles and, I'm clearly not making that much money from all of this. I'm just working really hard. And that was a moment of choice of deciding, am I an entrepreneur or am I just good at this job? And do I just go get a job that I'm really good at and leave all this, hassle behind? And the reality is the outcome of that was that, I decided that being an entrepreneur was really my passion and that it was worth these struggles, and I committed to building a better business as a result of that, so that I wouldn't find myself back there. And I just decided, all right, well, let's just survive through this recession. If we can survive, there's going to be a lot of opportunity on the other side of it. So we'll just have to, tighten the belt buckle, get through this, and then we'll have a lot of opportunity that we can grow with afterwards. And that's really what's happened. But, not having the foresight to really, again, that was when I was really thinking about the business as myself and not as a business. And that was part of that evolution to say, let's step back and think about how does this become a better business, not just Aaron running a company.
How does this become a better business, not just one person, the entrepreneur running the business?
Exactly.
You have a certain type of work ethic that you don't see in a lot of entrepreneurs. You're not only the CEO of your company, you're also a family man. And on top of that, you are the president of Entrepreneurs Organization in South Florida, one of the biggest chapters in the world. What drives you to have that type of work ethic to be able to get so much done? Like, what is it?
My mother would say it's insanity, but you're crazy. Stop. You're working too hard. Reality is that, going back to my parents, honestly, it's a little bit to blame on them. They were hardworking people, and they took pride in their work. And I think that, I started working when I was 14, as, delivering papers and then bagging groceries and then, unloading trucks at Sears. And so I've always had a desire to work. And I think the other part of that is I have pride in the work that I do. And, taking on these other commitments, for me has been about just believing that I can have it all and not have to compromise on things. And what it's doing is making me be more effective at the time I'm spending in each one of those things. So I don't waste my time with my family. I have really meaningful time with my family. And my time that I'm giving back to the Entrepreneurs Organization and EO allows me to be a better business person, a better father, better person in the community. And I feel like my time is valued more as a result of being involved in more things and spending my time at a high level in each of those areas.
Wow. So you're getting better results from what you're doing. So as a result, you're seeing progress in what you're doing. You see the impact that it has in your life and in your business. So it becomes okay, this is why it's worth to work more.
Yeah. Being in the president of the Entrepreneurs Organization down here, I give on average 10 to 15 hours a week, every week to the organization. And one of the things that happens then is that I can't indulge in doing those low-level tasks. I don't have time to do those low-level tasks in my business. So it actually makes me be a better CEO because I'm elevating myself because I just can't afford the time to just waste on low-level activity. So I have to spend my time and choose wisely as to how I spend that time because I just don't have as much of it. But the business is running better because I'm not here as much, ironically, right? It's one of those things that is illogical, but works.
It's like when we used to have an IT guy, our systems would always go down. The second we got rid of him, all of a sudden everything started working. You get rid of the CEO and the business just works.
Yeah. Other people have to do their jobs, right? Instead of you doing it for them.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful. They say the best way to get the business to run without you is don't be in the business. So entrepreneurs have another issue, is that there's so many opportunities out there. And you, like me, have seen how many opportunities, especially as a digital marketing agency, that you have, and that you're out there doing things for companies. You get all these opportunities to get involved in businesses and get involved to do things in projects and build companies. And you're an expert marketer, so you know how to market a company. It's so easy to get distracted with all the opportunity around us. They call it the Squirrel Factor. How do you stay, exactly, how do you stay focused on the most important goals?
Well, I think that is such a good question, because for so many years I was a squirrel on a hamster wheel. In that, all those distractions kept me from really growing the business. And so I was in this pattern of just doing the same things over and over again, but not really making any progress. And to me, the thing that changed was I got clear about the why I was in business and what I was looking for my business to provide, instead of just surviving the business, which when your business plan is don't go out of business, then every opportunity looks like a good one. And so when I started to get clear about what my life cycle and what I wanted the business to provide for me as an entrepreneur, it started making it a lot easier. And I started to immediately see that there were opportunities that didn't match that. And so it wasn't an overnight thing. We had to slowly, we had relationships with clients for many, many years that were never going to align with that ultimate new goal. And so we had to, in some cases, make tough decisions and not renew business that we, had for a long time. And also, as new opportunities come in, our approach has been to basically say at this price we'd be willing to do it, but really at the end of the day, this isn't really the right fit for us. So over time, when you're first starting out, if you know what you're trying to get out of the business, you can make a lot of those decisions easier. Once you're 10 years down the road and you have a lot of relationships, it makes it a little bit harder to make that transition, but it's still really, really important. But I'd say the thing that made it clear for me that what that opportunity filter is understanding what is the business purpose and what's our why. And then it starts to become very clear that this opportunity doesn't fit that why.
Wow, this opportunity doesn't fit that why. Very interesting. So figuring out your why would help you be able to focus, having a vision, having a mission, knowing what you're doing. Sometimes we know where we want to go, we have a vision, but suddenly there's something that stops us from getting there. And some people call it fear, right? I'm scared of doing it. And the biggest problem is that people don't know what their fears are, and they just make excuses about why they're not doing something. But the reality is they just have a fear. Could you talk about some of the greatest fears that you've overcame in your career and how you've overcome them?
Yeah, I would say it's identifying for myself that I didn't think I was capable of something, right? Like that I was only so big in the world, and that my capacity for taking on responsibility had a certain ceiling to it. And what I began to realize is that with the relationship to, in our clients in particular, and with our staff, is that, having done this for, I've been in this career for longer than I'd care to admit, but long enough to be an expert at it. And there's value in that expertise, and that expertise gives you permission to be as big as you want to be, essentially. And so it's really just coming down to identifying, and I guess it kind of comes back to that the previous question of what's your why? And when you know what your why is, then it starts to take away some of the fear of how big do you want to be as a company? How, what are those parameters that you have in place mentally that's going to stop you from getting there? And they start to become a lot more clear when you say, okay, well, I want to be this size company in this number of years and, accomplishing these things. Then all of a sudden, those individual fears start to really become very, very clear, and you can identify them for what they are. And when you create that number of where do you want your business to be and what do you want it to be providing, the other challenge there is identifying is that idea of where you want to be, is it limited by a fear, right? So I think a lot of times the other thing that's really been helpful is to check yourself in with other people, right? Get other people's perspective. And that's one of the things I love about EO is that I can bring this idea to my forum group in EO and say, here's what I'm thinking. And they can challenge me. And it doesn't have to be EO. It could be a mentor. It could be, so I think having that outside perspective is huge because it's impossible to coach yourself, right? You can implement coaching, but it's really, really hard to have the perspective to coach yourself. And so just getting some outside perspective helps people in giving them permission to challenge you and coach you, and being coachable makes a huge difference in being able to say, okay, yeah, you know what, you're right. That's just me, playing small ball instead of playing big ball. Yeah.
Yeah. It's impossible to see the label while you're in the jar. I think I heard that at Nerve one year that,
exactly right.
You can't see what's going on if you're on the inside. Right. Talking about EO, talking about the people around us, in order to build a successful business, you have to rely on people. And that means you have to learn how to have great relationships. You're a person that has built tremendous relationships in your business career. What does a relationship mean to you?
Our business, for the most part, has been, our marketing has been relationships. And so, your reputation is to me, it's paramount to finding future opportunities. And sometimes opportunities come in the form and from sources that you may never appreciate. And so having those relationships and maintaining quality relationships over time, I think, is probably one of the most fundamental benefits and keys to success. I've had so many different legitimate good opportunities come my way purely because of the way I act in the world and having integrity, being a good communicator, following up on what you say you're going to do. Those things matter to people. And when you do that consistently over time, people begin to trust you and really understand that you're going to act in their best interest in a relationship. So whether they're referring you to an opportunity or they are the opportunity themselves, I think having that foundation of trust is essential. And so that's where I come from.
So having that foundation of trust in your relationships is the key to be able to build lasting relationships and a lasting business. What are some of those things that you do to build trust in a relationship?
I think it's authenticity. It's telling the truth. It is, sometimes you have to act not in your own best interest. Sometimes you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes to say, even if this isn't a great fit for me, I'm going to give you my best advice because it's the right thing to do. And I would say that, it goes back to just a simple word of integrity, not like a right or wrong thing. It's just having something be whole and complete and leaving relationships in a way that they are, sorry, phone drop, that they're not missing something, right? And so if there's something that needs to be said, say it. But you can say it in a respectful way. You can say it, in a way that leaves somebody in a place that's good, even if it's bad news, right? So I think that's treating that and being sensitive to that and understanding the other person's perspective on things, even if you don't agree, goes a long way to having a good relationship that will. I've had opportunities come from clients who we don't work together anymore, but they love the way we worked together. And so they are trust that their friends will have a good experience when they work with us as well, even if we're not a good fit for each other anymore.
Powerful. There's one word that you said there was integrity, and having integrity in a relationship. When you are not honest or when you don't say things to people in a certain way, sometimes you erode that integrity. Sometimes it's your body language that erodes the integrity in a relationship. So you really have to say what you mean because you're communicating whether you're using words or not. And also what you said about you specifically saying it the nice way. I heard somebody say, have a little tact. have a little tact. So what if the other person's wrong? But have a little tact. You don't have to bring it up. Bring it up the right way. Be nice, soften it, be kind, have a little kindness and so on. So having tact in business helps build relationships.
Absolutely. It's a respect thing at the end of the day. It's having a respect for the other person and realize that they're a human being just like you are.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way.
So let's talk a little bit about purpose. You're dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs around you. You're mentoring entrepreneurs. When somebody says, I'm just doing it for the money, what do you say to them? How important is purpose in business?
For me, it's been huge. And I think there's a balance, right? At the end of the day, a business has metrics, and those metrics matter in order for the business to be vital and to have longevity and success on a financial standpoint. So for many years, like I said, I was a little too much on the purpose side, not enough on the financial side of things. And the consequence for that was we almost went out of business. So I think you have to find a balance between the two. But I think if you are too much on only the financial side of things, you realize at the end of the day, people are business. People aren't numbers. And whether it's your employees, your customers, your vendors, yourself, people move mountains because of purpose, not money. And so my staff, if we talk only about profitability and, what are we doing today, this week, this quarter, this year, they're only going to care so much. And so it has to be, for me, it has to be something more than that. Part of why I created a business was because I didn't want to work for another company that didn't care. And I wanted an environment that people wanted to get up and come and go to work for and felt like they had a purpose for being there besides just making me money. And I think that in today's world, I think the generation that's coming up, it matters even more than it has in the past. People want to feel like they're doing something that means something to the world and to themselves, and that they're contributing to something of value. At the end of the day, I believe that if you focus on that, the profits will follow. But you can't be only focused on that and not pay attention to the profits. You have to make sure that the business is sustainable.
You have to make sure the business is sustainable, but if you want to move mountains, as you put it, you need to have an inspiring message that is more than just about the money. Powerful. One final question for you, Aaron. What does Mojo mean to you?
That's a great question. I would say, well, here's what it is to me. And this is something that's been kind of true throughout my career, is that, there's a 90-10 rule. And, 90% of the people can do 90% of the job. That last 10% is the thing that people remember you for. And that to me is what the mojo is. It's that extra 10% that sets you apart, that makes people remember what you did and what you said in a powerful way. And, adding that extra 10% has had us keep clients for 5 years instead of 1, because they know that we care and we're going to go that little extra mile to make a difference and realize that we really do truly care about what we're doing. And that means in a conversation, even like this, like going that extra mile to really be available and be present and contribute instead of just having a casual conversation. Everybody can do that. But if you go that one extra little step, it makes a huge difference in the world, and that's what Mojo is.
Wow, powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for being on this interview, Aaron. Looking forward to speaking to you again soon. Really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with the Mojo Nation.
Thanks, Joe. Loved it. Have a great day.
Thanks.
You've been listening to another episode of CEO Mojo, your source for amazing motivation. For more episodes that will get you motivated, go to www.ceomojo.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. If you've enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share it and let us know what you think. Thank you for joining us. And remember, Mojo Nation, stay motivated.